Imagine walking into a room and feeling a shift the moment you step through the door. Not because you've raised your voice, not because you've made a demand, not because you've tried to prove a point, but simply because of the way you exist. The air feels different, the energy feels different, and suddenly, someone who once held power over you begins to falter. They glance, they hesitate, they search for leverage that isn't there. It's as if the entire game they built to control, manipulate, and dominate is exposed in an instant. That's the quiet power of awareness. That's the force of presence. And it's the exact thing a narcissist fears more than anything else, because it cannot be bargained with, argued over, or silenced. When you step fully into yourself, you become untouchable, unshakable, and the illusion of their control begins to crumble before your eyes. Let me begin with this. There is a sentence, just a few simple words, that when spoken does far more than stop manipulation. It dismantles illusions, exposes hidden intentions, and sends a tremor into the psyche of a narcissist that they simply cannot withstand. But before I reveal what it is, it's crucial to understand why it works, why it shakes them at the very core. This isn't about asserting power over someone else. It's about reclaiming power within yourself, discovering the stillness that no one can touch, and learning to occupy a space of calm observation while they unravel. Narcissists fear your awareness far more than your anger, because awareness is a form of silent resistance. Most people trapped in the cycle of emotional reaction fail to see this truth. They believe confrontation or outbursts are the way to reclaim control, that raising their voice or pointing out the injustice will somehow restore balance. But narcissists do not fear intensity. They do not fear fire, they thrive on it. Your emotional reaction is nourishment. It signals that they still hold sway, that their manipulation is still effective, that your mind is still their battleground. Every spike of anger, every defensive response, every attempt to make sense of their behavior confirms for them that the game continues, that you are still inside their world, still dancing to their rhythm. But awareness functions on an entirely different plane. It is quiet, it is still, it does not argue or demand recognition, and it certainly does not try to dominate. Awareness simply observes, takes note, and allows reality to exist without distortion. It sees through the mask, the charm, the fabricated victimhood, and the layers of manipulation. And this is what terrifies a narcissist, being truly seen. Not just superficially, but at the level where every lie, every manipulation, every hidden agenda is illuminated. When you operate from awareness, you are no longer a participant in their story. You step outside the chaos and reclaim the space they once controlled, leaving them exposed and powerless to affect your inner state. When you embrace awareness, a profound shift occurs. You stop reacting to every slight, every provocation, every carefully constructed drama. You stop trying to analyze, justify, or decode their every action. You stop validating their narratives and feeding their need for control. You see the patterns, the repetitions, the cycles, and you understand them for what they truly are. Strategies designed to keep you trapped in their sphere. And in that clarity, you find freedom. Awareness gives you the power to choose which battles are worth your energy, and more importantly, which battles are not worth your presence at all. This quiet power is not passive. It is decisive, unshakable, and infinitely more threatening than anger ever could be. This moment of awareness is also the moment you recognize that not every comment demands a response. Not every slight, insult, or provocation warrants engagement. You understand that silence can speak volumes, and that detachment is a form of protection. You realize that their attempts to bait you are signals of their insecurity, not your failure. And in choosing observation over reaction, you are no longer caught in their gravitational pull. Their stories, their games, their manipulations slide off of you. Awareness is your shield and your sword, the force that silently dismantles the illusion they've so carefully constructed, leaving them vulnerable, exposed, and ultimately powerless to touch the life you are reclaiming. Not every accusation deserves your defense, and not every guilt trip requires your apology. These are profound realizations that begin to shift your entire perception of interactions with a narcissist. Slowly, you start to see that their behavior isn't personal, it's programmed. It's part of a system they run to maintain control, a script designed to keep you off balance and tethered to their narrative. When you operate from this awareness, you no longer take the bait. You stop chasing closure in conversations engineered to confuse and exhaust you. You stop bleeding energy trying to be understood by someone who never intended to listen. Neutrality becomes your quiet rebellion, your invisible shield. This neutrality is what unsettles them most. Narcissists cannot influence someone who no longer reacts. Your absence of response creates a silence louder than any scream, a space they cannot penetrate. And in that silence, your power grows. You realize that true strength isn't in the storm of emotion, but in the calm clarity that comes from knowing your own mind and your own truth. You may appear less dramatic, less forceful, even less visible to the outside world, but internally, you are gaining strength. You are shifting from being controlled to being conscious, reclaiming sovereignty over your own nervous system and the way you engage with the world. This shift, subtle as it may seem, creates an energetic boundary they can sense but do not understand. They have spent years training you to seek their approval, to fear their withdrawal, to believe that your worth depends on their attention. But when awareness takes root, all of that loses its hold. You no longer seek their validation because you have located it within yourself. Your presence, quiet and grounded, extinguishes their power. Reaction fuels them. Presence ends their game. This truth is one of the most important to understand when dealing with a narcissist or anyone who thrives on emotional manipulation. Your inner stillness becomes your strongest weapon. Narcissists are not powerful because they are deeply secure or particularly intelligent. Their strength lies in knowing how to pull you out of your center, how to activate your wounds, poke at your insecurities, and trigger chaos in your nervous system. The moment you react, whether through rage, tears, panic, or defensiveness, they have already won. You are no longer grounded in your truth. You have been pulled into their reality, and they are steering every perception, every emotional response, every thought. Reactivity is the language of survival, a consequence of a nervous system hijacked by fear, shame, guilt, or abandonment. In that moment, your brain is not seeking truth, it is seeking protection. They thrive in that chaos because it is their domain. Emotional storms are familiar terrain for them. They know how to deflect blame, rewrite stories, and keep you spinning in loops. Every attempt to rationalize, explain, or assert your perspective feeds them. For you, it is exhausting, draining, and disorienting, clouding your clarity and leaving you questioning your own perception. Presence, however, is the antidote. Grounding yourself, observing without reaction, stepping back into awareness. This is where your freedom begins. The more you anchor yourself in your own center, the less their manipulation can reach you, and the more the illusion of their power crumbles before your quiet, unwavering observation. Presence is what happens when you stay inside your body, inside the breath, and inside the moment instead of being pulled into stories, reactions, or emotional spirals. It does not mean you become passive, numb, or weak. It means you become immovable, grounded in something deeper than impulse. When you are present, you are no longer participating in emotional ping pong. You are not chasing explanations, defending your intentions, or scrambling to correct distortions. You are observing. And that observation is powerful because it keeps your energy with you. When you do not react, you do not hand over control. You remain connected to your intuition, sensing truth beneath confusion. Being present does not mean tolerating abuse or pretending nothing is happening. It means you see exactly what is happening without denial or dramatization, and you choose how to respond. You create space between the trigger and the action. That space is everything. It is the moment you step out of autopilot and into awareness. And that stillness is something a narcissist cannot navigate. They cannot control someone who is not emotionally entangled. They cannot manipulate someone who does not need their approval, and they cannot win a game you refuse to play. Presence quietly dismantles their strategy without confrontation or explanation. This is why healing is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like pausing before responding, breathing instead of breaking, noticing your own heartbeat while chaos is being projected onto you and choosing not to match it. Presence is not just a mental practice. It is energetic sovereignty. It is the moment you realize they are not the source of your peace, your worth, or your power. You are. And when you live from that space, manipulation loses its grip. Regulated energy becomes your greatest defense because nothing external can hijack what is internally anchored. In the presence of a narcissist, your energy becomes the battlefield long before words are exchanged. Their strategy is rarely just about what they say. It is about how they affect your nervous system. If they can disrupt your breathing, accelerate your heart rate, tighten your chest, or send your thoughts spiraling, they gain leverage. A dysregulated nervous system reacts automatically. It seeks safety, not truth. And once you are reacting instead of responding, you are inside their storm. They recognize this immediately. Chaos gives them control because chaos disconnects you from your center. This is why emotional regulation is not simply self-care. It is protection. A well-regulated nervous system is something a narcissist cannot penetrate. When your energy is regulated, you are in your body, not reliving old wounds or projecting future threats. You are here, you are breathing deeply, your muscles soften, your perception sharpens. This state is powerful because it is stable, and narcissists cannot manipulate stability. They manipulate chaos. They activate old injuries, provoke insecurity, and bait you into survival mode because survival mode keeps you disconnected from your inner knowing. But when your nervous system is calm, you are no longer accessible to their confusion. You stop questioning what you feel. You stop overriding your intuition with logic meant to explain away discomfort. You begin to sense what is true even when their words are smooth, convincing, or emotionally charged. Your body recognizes incongruence before your mind does. Presence restores that connection. It allows truth to register quietly, without urgency or panic. And from that grounded awareness, you no longer need to prove, convince, or defend. You simply know. And that knowing changes everything. You begin to see the subtle energy behind the smile, the manipulation hidden inside the compliment, the pressure disguised as kindness. Words lose their hypnotic effect because energy speaks louder than language ever could. When you walk into a room regulated, present, grounded, and unattached, you don't need to announce anything or explain yourself to shift the dynamic. Your very presence becomes a mirror, and mirrors are dangerous to those who survive by hiding. Narcissists cannot tolerate reflection, especially when their usual tactics no longer work. They become agitated, disoriented, unsettled because the performance is no longer being rewarded. When you remain calm in the face of their chaos, their behavior is exposed without you ever needing to confront it directly. Your composure highlights their instability. Your coherence reveals their dysfunction. They can feel that something has changed even if they cannot articulate it. Regulated presence disrupts their control because it removes the emotional leverage they depend on. They expect reactions, explanations, or defensiveness. Instead, they are met with stillness. That stillness forces their tactics into the light, where manipulation cannot survive. The absence of reaction is not passive. It is a quiet refusal to participate in distortion. Regulated energy also means you respond from choice rather than conditioning. You are no longer saying yes when your body is saying no, or staying silent simply to avoid conflict. You are no longer triggered into proving your worth, fixing their emotions, or defending your reality. You stay connected to your internal cues. You notice the tightening in your stomach, the heaviness in your chest, the subtle inner voice that says, "This isn't safe." And instead of overriding those signals out of fear or habit, you honor them. This is what true regulation looks like. It is not emotional flatness. It is emotional sovereignty. From this place, you decide what enters your field and what does not. You stop living on edge, scanning for their next move, anticipating their moods, or bracing for impact. You become centered. You are no longer fighting to be seen or validated because you are already witnessing yourself. And in that witnessing, the entire mechanism they rely on begins to collapse. Control can only exist where fear lives, and fear cannot survive in a regulated body. When you are grounded in your own energy, you become the calm within the storm instead of the one consumed by it. Your stillness becomes louder than their chaos. Proof, calmly spoken or calmly embodied, breaks the illusion they depend on. In narcissistic dynamics, chaos is currency and confusion is a weapon. The more disoriented you are, the easier it is for them to plant doubt, bend narratives, and rewrite reality in their favor. But truth, especially when delivered without emotional charge, cannot be countered. It cuts through noise without effort. It dismantles the performance without confrontation. It does not argue or plead. It simply reveals. And that revelation is what narcissists fear more than anything else. Most people believe that power lives in volume or aggression, that to be heard you must be forceful, loud, or overwhelming. But when dealing with a narcissist, loudness only feeds the game. They want you off balance. They want you defensive, reactive, emotionally charged, because that is where they gain control. In that state, they can twist your words, flip the script, and frame you as unstable or irrational. But when you speak from calm clarity, something shifts. You're no longer performing for validation or trying to win an argument. You're simply speaking truth because it is truth. And truth, when grounded, carries its own authority even when spoken softly. Calm truth-telling removes their leverage entirely. Narcissists rely on emotional intensity to distract, derail, and redirect. If you come at them with fire, they mirror it back and accuse you of being the problem. If you cry, they position themselves as the victim. But when you remain calm, they have nothing to grip onto. There is no drama to manipulate, no reaction to distort. Your steadiness neutralizes the dynamic. It quietly exposes who is actually unstable in the room. The focus shifts away from surface-level stories and onto the underlying structure, the toxic framework they've been hiding behind all along. This kind of truth does not come from impulse. It requires inner work. It means you've moved beyond the phase of needing to be believed or validated. You are no longer waiting for them to admit what they did or to take responsibility. You've released the hope of closure or confession. You've detached from their agreement because you've anchored yourself in your own reality. From this place, truth emerges naturally, not from the desire to convince, but from the knowing that your experience is real even if they deny it. That knowing changes the way truth lands. When truth is spoken from that grounded space, it is no longer just language. It becomes energy. It resonates in your body first. You feel clearer, stronger, more rooted in yourself. Your nervous system recognizes alignment, and at the same time, the narcissist feels exposed. Not because you are attacking them, but because you are reflecting them. You have become a mirror they cannot escape. In that reflection, they are confronted with the one thing they fear most, that their illusion no longer works on you. The spell has broken. You have reclaimed your voice, not as a weapon, but as a tuning fork for reality. You are no longer trying to overpower them or outmaneuver them. You are simply standing in truth, allowing it to reverberate. And once truth is spoken from that place, even quietly, it cannot be unheard. It lingers in the space between you. It changes the energy of the interaction. It marks a turning point, because from that moment on, the game is exposed. And once seen clearly, it can never fully operate the same way again. It can't be unsaid or undone. I see what you're doing, and it won't work anymore. This sentence does not need volume, drama, or emotional force. It lands like a quiet thunderclap because it communicates something profoundly destabilizing to a narcissist, awareness paired with boundary. It's not just that you recognize the manipulation, it's that you are no longer available for it. In a single statement, you are signaling that the game has been exposed and you are stepping off the board. No more chasing, no more explaining, no more hoping they will change. Only clarity remains, and clarity is lethal to illusion. To say, "I see what you're doing," is to name the pattern without requiring their agreement. You are no longer gaslighting yourself. You are no longer asking if you're overreacting or wondering if it's somehow your fault. You are no longer trapped in the spiral of second-guessing and self-doubt. You don't need more proof. You've seen it enough times. The same script, the same cycles. Love bombing followed by withdrawal, guilt wrapped in concern, silence used as punishment, blame subtly shifted back onto you. What once felt confusing is now recognizable. And once behavior becomes predictable, it loses its power to control. But it is the second part of the sentence that truly stings them. And it won't work anymore. That is where the door closes. That is where the energetic contract is broken. Narcissists depend on you staying in the loop. They rely on you returning, doubting yourself, reopening the door just enough for them to slip back in. This sentence declares the end of that cycle. You are not trying to fix them. You are not negotiating change. You are simply no longer participating. And that absence is what destabilizes them. Not anger, not confrontation, but the quiet certainty that you are done feeding the dynamic. This kind of boundary is not about punishment or revenge. It is about protection. It is about saying, you can do what you want, but not here, not with me. That marks a shift from trying to control the narcissist to fully owning your own space. And ownership changes everything. Your nervous system begins to realign from defense to discernment. You are no longer in survival mode, scanning for their moods or decoding their behavior. You are simply watching, noticing, and choosing what you will allow into your energy. That grounded choice is where your power lives. They may escalate when they feel this shift. They may lash out, attempt to provoke you, or pull you back in with confusion, guilt, or sudden vulnerability. They may act betrayed, wounded, or bewildered. But beneath that reaction is fear, because you have stepped out of the trance. You have stopped feeding the loop, and once the mechanism is seen clearly, it cannot be unseen. The spell breaks. The power they seem to have was never real. It was borrowed from your lack of clarity, your need for approval, your unhealed wounds. This sentence proves something has changed inside you. You are no longer hypnotized by the performance. You're watching it like an old film you've seen too many times, and now you know exactly how it ends. Every pause, every tactic, every manipulative twist is predictable. That quiet certainty, calm and unshakable, is far more disruptive than any loud confrontation. It communicates to the narcissist that their grip has slipped without you having to raise your voice, argue, or lift a finger. When you reclaim your awareness, regulate your energy, and speak truth without emotional entanglement, you become untouchable. You are no longer accessible to manipulation. You no longer need their approval, their explanation, or their admission. You are simply present, clear, and sovereign. Narcissists do not fear confrontation. They thrive on it, feed from it, and turn it into fuel for their control. What they fear is exposure, being seen as they truly are, without the distortions, the masks, or the illusions. They fear the version of you that no longer reacts, that no longer seeks validation, that observes without attachment. One sentence, "I see what you're doing and it won't work anymore," does not just create a boundary, it signals the end of their influence. It announces self-sovereignty. It communicates that you are no longer participating in their cycles and that their games are powerless in the presence of your clarity. When you understand the dynamics of narcissistic manipulation, it becomes clear that the power they hold is never inherent. It is borrowed from your uncertainty, your need for validation, your emotional reactivity. Every reaction you give, every second you spend trying to make sense of their behavior, every attempt to explain yourself or justify your feelings feeds their illusion of control. They thrive in chaos because chaos disconnects you from your own internal compass. They feed off confusion, doubt, and self-blame. The moment you stop reacting and instead observe, the entire dynamic shifts. You are no longer a participant in their game, you are a witness to it. And witnessing without entanglement is a form of power far more disruptive than anger or confrontation. Your awareness becomes a mirror that reflects their tactics back at them. When you are emotionally regulated and fully present, they cannot manipulate your perception or provoke you into loops of defensiveness. They can attempt to bait you, escalate, or provoke, but without your reaction, their control dissipates. They are dependent on your energy for leverage. Your calmness, clarity, and refusal to engage on their terms is a kind of silent authority that they cannot override. In these moments, you are reclaiming your nervous system, your attention, and your peace. Every breath you take anchored in awareness is a reclaiming of your sovereignty, a quiet refusal to participate in the distortion they've relied on for so long. Boundaries, in this context, are not just statements. They are energetic declarations. They tell the narcissist that the old patterns no longer function. Saying, "I see what you're doing and it won't work anymore," is not an argument. It is a recalibration. It communicates that you are no longer available for manipulation, that the loops of confusion, guilt, and self-doubt have ended. The narcissist may escalate, express confusion, or feign hurt, but underneath all of that is fear. They fear exposure, the clarity you now possess, and the reality that their influence is no longer effective. Your presence, calm and grounded, is a destabilizing force. It removes the fuel for their control and makes visible what they rely on hiding. True presence is about inhabiting your body, your breath, and your own awareness. It is the practice of staying connected to yourself while observing the chaos around you without being pulled in. Presence is not passivity, it is immovability, an unshakable alignment with your own inner truth. In the space between stimulus and response, you create freedom. You are no longer hijacked by emotional triggers or conditioned reactions. You notice discomfort, tension, and intuition, and you honor it rather than override it. This stillness, this energetic regulation, is something narcissists cannot navigate. They cannot control someone who is centered, who discerns before reacting, who allows only what aligns with their own boundaries to enter their field. Manipulation loses its power when your nervous system is regulated. Chaos is their currency, but calm is your shield. A calm, grounded presence prevents them from creating doubt, spinning stories, or deflecting responsibility onto you. Their usual strategies fail because they rely on emotional hijacking, and you have removed that lever. You are no longer reliving trauma, projecting future fears, or scanning for danger. You are fully in the moment, aware and connected to your own inner authority. This level of self-possession is deeply unsettling to narcissists because it exposes the fragility behind their performance. The spell that once held sway over you has dissolved, leaving them exposed and powerless. Once you reach this state, it is irreversible. Awareness, regulated energy, and presence are not temporary tactics. They are shifts in how you inhabit your body, your mind, and your boundaries. You no longer need them to validate your experience. You no longer chase explanations, proof, or acknowledgement. You simply exist in your own truth. And in doing so, you dismantle the illusion they relied on to exert control. Their strategies are rendered ineffective because they feed off uncertainty, and you are no longer uncertain. The moment you see clearly and hold your energy with quiet authority, you reclaim not only your peace, but also your autonomy. Over time, you also notice a reduction in inner conflict. The constant mental rehearsals, the what-ifs, the attempts to decode their behavior begin to fade. You no longer need to make sense of someone who thrives on confusion. Instead, your mind returns to itself. Creativity, focus, and presence re-emerge where hypervigilance once lived. This is one of the clearest signs of healing. When your inner world is no longer organized around someone else's instability, your attention becomes your own again, and with it comes a sense of spaciousness you may not have felt in a long time. This is not about winning a fight or proving a point. It is about awakening. Once you have awakened, you step fully into your own energy. You are no longer caught in the loops they rely on to maintain control. You have reclaimed your perception, your attention, your calm. You are no longer reactive, no longer swept into confusion or self-doubt. You are fully anchored in your own truth, and that awakening is permanent. There is no going back to the state of being where their tactics held sway over you. Awareness and presence are irreversible shifts. They cannot be unlearned. Once seen, the illusion cannot stand.